Good evening, and thanks for joining us for the Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News. Today is Saturday, October 12, 2013. I'm Nikki Carvajal. Leading our news tonight, Governor Sean Parnell was in town today for the 2013 Golden Heart Governor's Prayer Breakfast. The event gave community members of all faiths a chance to come together and pray for members of the armed forces and government leadership. There was music and a keynote address by retired Air Force Lieutenant General Tex Brown, who previously served at Eielson Air Force Base. It was also a fundraising opportunity for the Fairbanks Rescue Mission, who received all of the proceeds. Parnell said that the diverse nature of the speakers is part of what made the breakfast so important.
Well, certainly because we all come from different backgrounds and have different narratives or stories that we're coming from, and it's just important that we gather together as people of faith and realize that we're all humans. We all have needs together, and to pray for our leadership in that kind of context.
Senator Lisa Murkowski hopes for movement within the next 48 hours towards reopening the federal government. Murkowski called a meeting Friday between Senate Republicans and the president constructive and said she's heartened to see more discussion. The government has been partially shut down since October 1st after Congress failed to pass a spending plan. The GOP-led House included provisions calling for delays in the health care law, which the Senate rejected. Murkowski says the shutdown should not have happened. She says she doesn't like the health care law either, but the votes aren't there to repeal or defund it. She's working on a bipartisan proposal to extend government funding, provide a short-term raise in the debt limit, and address the medical device tax authorized by the health care law. Well, if you were driving around town this afternoon, you might have noticed a large group picketing at the intersection of Cowles and Lathrop. The group known as GMO Free Alaska was out spreading awareness about the dangers of genetically modified organisms, otherwise known as GMO. GMOs are believed to be the cause of health issues such as obesity, infertility, and certain types of cancer. The group is currently trying to get legislation to have any GMO processed food labeled so consumers are aware of what is going into their bodies.
It's really important for people to learn about it. The GMOs are everywhere in our food. 85% of our corn is genetically modified nowadays. Over 90% of soy in the United States is genetically modified. And if you think of the scale, to what scale these products are used in our food chain, 75% upwards of all of our packaged foods, all of the food in the United States has genetically modified ingredients in them. It's a huge impact. It's impacting our health hugely.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and as we reported earlier, new numbers show Alaska is the second worst state in the country for women killed by men. News Center 11's Tyson Paris-Hansen shows not all domestic violence ends with bruises.
What do you even do all day?
You know, it's not easy.
How's it
This
feel to
public service announcement shows a serious case of domestic violence, and statistics here in Fairbanks are soaring.
We have about 50% of the women in Fairbanks have experienced some sort of domestic violence, and that was measuring violence. That doesn't even include the economic, the emotional, those kind of things. It really was about the physical violence. That's a really high number.
Many events like this highlight the problem, which can be much more subtle than physical violence.
Domestic violence is not a one-time incident. Domestic violence is about patterns that are used in order to basically project your will onto somebody else.
It's a learned behavior, and depending on the severity, the effects can have far-reaching consequences.
These kids are growing up in homes where we now know brain development is impacted when they witness domestic violence. They carry that over into the classroom. You've got your kids that are the bullies. You go back and you look at what they're experiencing. It carries over into adult, where you're looking at people who are addicted to substances, who you go back and they're trying to mask the trauma that they experienced as children.
For some, they know domestic violence is happening and they want to fix the problem quickly, but there are dangers with abrupt changes.
It has to be very well thought out, and so being supportive of the person who's experiencing that to help them through the process, but not being too judgmental if they stay longer than you think.
It's also an option to talk to the person doing the abusing.
And to encourage that person to get help. There's groups out there to teach other things besides violence, and if somebody should so want to change, they absolutely can gain the skills to do that.
Tyson Paris-Hansen, News Center 11.
When we come back, opera and Shakespeare come together, and the Go Winter Expo gets underway at the Carlson Center. Those stories and more when we come back. Stay with us. And welcome back. The American Red Cross of Alaska says one official and 2 volunteers from the state are helping people affected by floods in Colorado. Red Cross officials say Kelly McGurk will deploy Saturday to the Denver area as the Assistant Director of Recovery Operations. Last month's floods killed 9 people, damaged or destroyed nearly 2,000 homes, and washed out hundreds of miles of roads. A Fairbanks first is bringing together 2 very different styles of stage productions in one night. Verdi and the Bard is a joint project between Opera Fairbanks and the Fairbanks Shakespeare Theater. The show features selections from Shakespeare's Othello, Macbeth, and The Merry Wives of Windsor, alongside the opera versions of the plays written by Giuseppe Verdi. The director of the show says that while blending the 2 has been a challenge, the overlap between the different styles is what makes the evening special.
There's really some moments that I'm excited about where the opera singers and the FST actors actually interact, like people who are playing the same characters. And I think it's those moments of overlap between the opera and the Shakespeare that really help the evening flow in one piece. So.
The State Health Department, as part of its efforts to reduce childhood obesity, wants to know what policies Alaska schools have for physical education and recess. News Center 11's Monty Blowen has more in this report.
The State Department of Health is looking for a contractor to survey all school districts and determine the strengths and weaknesses of their policies compared to the national standards for physical activity. There are, however, some signs that the number of overweight kids in the country could be reversing itself. The number of obese youngsters right now is down, ranging from 1% in California to 13% in Mississippi.
We're seeing it all across the country, so I believe it is a trend, not just in the big cities where they're doing a lot of activities, but in smaller cities throughout the country.
Why is it happening? Researchers say actions by policymakers in cities and schools over the past several years are starting to have an impact on what kids are eating. There have been changes in school lunch menus aimed at reducing fatty foods and sugary drinks, adding more whole grains, fruit, and vegetables. There's also been a push to change what kids eat outside of school.
Well, snacking is a big part of the American culture. Children walk out of schools and for $1.07 can purchase 360 calories in a corner store.
Parents are also starting to get involved.
When I add desserts, it's mainly fruits because I know that at school they give a lot of fruit now with their meal.
Right now, an estimated 26% of Alaska high school students are considered to be overweight or obese. Monty Bowen, News Center 11.
Well, as the temperatures continue to drop, it's time to start thinking about winter. And there's one way to go about doing that, the annual Winter Expo. More than 100 businesses were on hand at the Carlson Center to help you with different products and services throughout the season. The whole idea is to help you get through some of the darkest and coldest times in Alaska with a little bit of fun. This time around, we put the spotlight on the Iron Dogs booth.
So the Expo is a great place to connect with our volunteers. It's a great place to come down, check out all the winter gear, snow machines, and of course Iron Dog hats and shirts and that kind of thing. Of course, we've got a raffle that we've got a truck and a side-by-side ATV out front when you walk in, you can see. And we're selling raffle tickets for $60, and half those proceeds also go to benefit the Armed Services YMCA in Fairbanks and in Anchorage. It's a cool program. So yeah, there's lots to see. Come on down.
Alliance for Reason and Knowledge is hosting its Fairbanks Solar Tours tomorrow. The event will get underway from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. This is a self-guided tour of homes and businesses in the area that have incorporated various clean energy technologies combined with innovative conservation and construction methods which create comfortable, energy-efficient buildings. Maps will be available for those who would like to participate on the website at www.ark.us.
No, it's a basic self-guided, simple tour. I just encourage people to look into these types of technologies and to really consider how conservation can save more than just money. Right now, we have six of the 8 locations manned. Right now, the Patty Center or the CSR solar system, as well as the Pike's Landing system, isn't going to have anybody there, but the other systems will have people available, techs. I'll be at one site out on Farmers Loop, and they can ask us questions, and we'll try to help them understand what they're looking at.
Joe Cook knows about sports. He's subbing in at the last minute to help out a sideline Fred Brown. Joe has big news about Monroe football. Sports is next.
Hello, Interior Sports fans. Joe Cook here, filling in for Fred Bound, who fell ill this morning. Wish him the best. But now let's get to something that'll make you feel really good. Today, the Monroe Rams made history. The Rams hosted their first playoff game in the semifinal for the small schools, taking on the Barrow Whalers. The last time these teams met, the Rams won 51-8 on homecoming, where all 5 seniors scored, and that trend would continue. In Monroe's first possession, Wells goes to Callahan for a 54-yard score to open up the game, 7-0 Rams. Callahan finished with 2 TDs and 2 32-yard field goals. Now Wells, he plays basketball. He knows about buzzer beaters. That score right into your living room. At the end of the first, 28-yard touchdown, 14-0 Rams. Senior Dylan Gavora scored on a 33-yard run, not to be denied at the 51 mark of the second quarter, 21-0 Rams. And then the play of the game, the Barrow Whalers were driving. They threatened at the Ram 13, but that's a fumbleception, if you will, forced by Connor O'Kelly-O and Grant Olson. He goes 90 yards for the touchdown, and the Rams shut out the Whalers 40-0 when Ram wins his first playoff game and goes to the small school state championship for the first time in program history.
It was great. Everybody played perfect, no mistakes. Our coach penalties at the beginning, we took care of them. We really played as a team. Coach gets credit for this game. Coach staff did a great job getting this team prepared. No other coach could do it like he did.
You know, it's another milestone for us. We've never been to the big show, and that's where we're heading. We're heading against a very tough team, a very physical team. We feel like we're pretty physical. We're hoping it's a good matchup, and we're going to do our regular practice week and give them our best.
It feels great, especially doing it on my senior year. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the team and all the other seniors too. We come out hard, and we got to stop Murkowski, a good run game, so we got to stop the run game up the middle, and hopefully we can do that, and hopefully the outcome's good.
And last night, the Allison Ravens football season came to an end. The Murkowski Bulldogs won 38-20 in the second meeting between the two squads. The game was tied 20-20 at halftime, and Tony Griffith had a 97-yard TD run and an 80-yard kick return for a score, but it wasn't enough as the Bulldogs scored 18 unanswered in the second half and closed out the game. Christian Riddell led the Bulldogs with 216 yards and 3 touchdowns. Murkowski will play Monroe next weekend for the small schools state championship in Anchorage. And the Lathrop Malamute season also came to a close last night in Anchorage, going up against the top-ranked West Eagles. The Malamutes were shut out 19-0. It was only 12-0 at halftime. The defense of Lathrop made stops, but Lathrop's offense came up empty despite getting opportunities in the red zone. Leroy Elliott made plays for West, scoring on touchdown runs of 20 and 47 yards. Lathrop finishes the season with a 5-4 record after last night's postseason loss. The Malamutes made their first playoff appearance in a decade. And today, the UAF cross-country team placed 7th in the Western Cross Country Classic in Bellingham, Washington today. Redshirt sophomore Ross McDougal finished first for the Nooks for the second meet. McDougal placed 25th in scoring, finishing the 10K in under 34 minutes, and the women finished 9th with rookie Callie Stryker finishing the 6K in just under 24 minutes. Next up for UAF are the GNAC Championships on October 26th in Monmouth, Oregon. And yesterday, the Alaska Nanick hockey team rolled in their season opener in the Kendall Hockey Classic. The Alaska Nannicks executed what they did in their exhibition win over the University of British Columbia in their opener against Air Force. The Nannicks scored quickly and scored a lot in their 6-1 win over Air Force. Nolan Heisman scored 12 seconds into the game, and Cody Koenig had 2 goals, and Closen Pareko had 2 assists. John Keeney had 20 saves on the night, and today the Nooks faced Quinnipiac, last year's runner-up, and the Bobcats lost to UAA in their opener in the Kendall 3-1. Interesting there. And last night, your Fairbanks Ice Dogs tightened up their defense against the Cooley Region Chill. After a scoreless first period, Cooley would get the first goal of the game. In the second period, Jesse Tritniak would score on Patrick Munson for a breakaway goal at the 6:50 mark. Fairbanks would respond, though, with the great third period, 15:48, when Victor Munter finds Taylor Munson. Munson took care of the rest with the equalizer. It's a 1-1 game. And Lonnie Clary won a big battle on the boards behind the Cooley net and passes it to David Kaplan for the go-ahead score just 2 minutes after Munson's score. Patrick Munson and the Ice Dogs defense tightened up. Munson made 24 saves on 25 shots, and Jacob Hetz put in an empty netter for the final margin in the 3-1 victory for the Ice Dogs.
I knew going into the third period we had to look around the room and see who was going to pick it up, and I just turned up my game a little bit. Beat the battle, I saw Kaplan in front, and I threaded the needle, and he just put it back home. So he got rewarded, and we went up on the game winner, so we ended up putting it away.
Guys were more committed, I think. We had better sticks, better angles. Guys were getting back a little harder than last night, but guys stuck with it going into the third period. It just said we had 20 minutes of hockey to play, and let's play hard and see what happens. So guys responded in the third.
And that's it for the Saturday Sportscast. Thanks for rocking with me for a little while. For more KTVF Sports, just go to Twitter, YouTube, and webcenter11.com. See you on Monday for the weekend recap. Stick around, your full weather forecast is next.
And welcome back. Well, it looks like this nice long fall we've been having is going to keep going at least a little bit longer. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first, taking a look at the almanac for today. 20, we are well above that right now. The record high of 58 was set in 1923, and the record low of 7 below was set in 1927. Sunrise today was at 8:35 a.m. and the sun set at 6:37 p.m. That gives us 10 hours and 2 minutes of daylight, which is a loss of 6 minutes from yesterday. Taking a look around the state today, Barrow saw cloudy skies with a high of 30 degrees. Sunny skies in Fairbanks and Fort Yukon, right around 40 degrees there. Some showers for Nome, also seeing highs in the low 40s. 52 in Denali Park with clouds all across the southern part of the state. Bethel seeing temperatures of 53, getting down to 50 in Cold Bay. Some showers for Kodiak with a high of 48 degrees. And Juneau and Ketchikan saw showers today with a high of 49 degrees. Taking a look at the lower 48, Seattle saw a high of 58 degrees with cloudy skies, 52 in Billings, 68 degrees in Salt Lake, and mid-60s in San Francisco. Further south in Las Vegas and Phoenix, seeing temperatures of right around 80 degrees. Dallas seeing temperatures of 93 with showers. Partly sunny skies in Minneapolis with a high of 56 degrees, 70s in Chicago and St. Louis. And in the south, New Orleans seeing a high of 88 degrees, still up in 87 in Miami. And then on the East Coast, 69 for a high in DC and 72 for a high in New York City. Now taking a look back home at Alaska for tomorrow, Barrow is going to see some fog with a high of 34 degrees. Mostly cloudy in Fort Yukon, a high of 38, and highs in the low 40s for Nome with some showers there. Taking a look at the interior, a chance of snow in Healy with a high of 32. Fairbanks a little bit warmer than that with highs in the mid 40s under partly cloudy skies. We may see some rain tomorrow as well. However, in southeast, they're definitely going to get some rain, high of 48 in Juneau and low 50s in Ketchikan. In the southwest, Bethel is going to see some snow tomorrow with a high of 43, 50 in Cold Bay with showers, and mostly cloudy in Kodiak with a high of 50 degrees. And last but not least, in South Central, a high of 50 in Anchorage with showers, some snow for Valdez at 36, and upper 40s in Homer with some showers there as well. Here in Fairbanks tonight, we are going to see lows of above freezing at 34 degrees, overcast skies, and a little bit of light winds out of the east at 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then into tomorrow, we're once again going to get up into the mid 40s. We may see a chance of rain and east winds continuing 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now taking a look at the extended forecast through next week, we're going to be seeing those high temperatures. On Wednesday, we are going to start to see some showers, but the highs will be up in the 50s. Lows staying above freezing, getting down to 37 Wednesday night. Thursday, showers are going to continue with a high of 46 and a low of 36. And then Friday, things should clear up. We'll have mostly sunny skies and a high staying pretty high at 48 degrees. We're glad you could join us. Join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com. From all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.